A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to GWK FSI TEV, and well, here we are. This is the first time that I've pretty much brought on this title to the series, and this right here is simply known as Ghosts of Tsushima. And there's a good chance that you might have already, checked this out at some point when the mainline series. This is also going to be a part of it, but Ghosts of Tsushima, I'd say out of most titles of 2020 that I've played so far, there's quite a few that I haven't already gotten to yet. But it does take time for me to get to some of them. Several examples of titles from 2020 that I played would include this, The Last of Us Part 2, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Doom Eternal, and I'm also hoping to get to at least another one at some point. So, certainly expect me to, check some other titles out. As time goes on, I'm probably going to have a lot of new material to work with. Especially because finances are certainly doing way better than they used to, and I probably can't really say the same for how I probably was years ago. Of course, you remember that famous saying, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Well, here I am. I'm a content creator, a local independent filmmaker, a business owner, and, well, I'd say that I'm still doing well, doing what I do best. Because, man, there really is a lot to look out for. There's something like this, I mean, you really gotta imagine the fact that sometimes we're probably gonna have other things to, maybe expect. But in this likelihood, I probably don't see that happening very much. And the main thing here is, here I am playing Ghosts of Tsushima, or I already played Ghosts of Tsushima throughout December of 2020. I spent as much time playing it as I possibly could. And here I am. I'm basically kind of revisiting it with my eyes. I'm not necessarily playing the game itself, because this is one out of, actually most of them, that I was able to pretty much beat. All on the first shot. Because most games that I've played these days, they don't necessarily get beat, after a while. And most of the time, whenever I'm ordering them off Amazon and then returning them, I usually have only a limited window to basically play through all of them and then just beat them, pretty much. I've basically, had several games that I've had to, pretty much return before I had a chance to play them again and finish them. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, Kingdom Hearts 3, as well as Dying Light, pretty much. Because there's a lot of stuff that you can get in the first Dying Light game, as it turns out. Especially because of the fact that Dying Light 2's, or could I just say Dying Light 2 Stay Human? That's apparently what it's called now. Dying Light 2 Stay Human. Apparently, because that game has been delayed until December 31st, 2021, instead of December 31st, 2020, like when it was first shown. So, it's still a bitter disappointment. But again, I mean, I don't really know what many of y'all were expecting. But again, this is another 2020 title that I have played through, and I gotta say that it certainly is pretty amazing for what it is. It's basically the incarnation of a video game based on the ancient, history book story of the battle in the War of Tsushima, the War of the Mongols, pretty much. You basically have the samurais taking place in 13th century Japan, and they are basically fighting off against the Mongols. So, I mean, there's probably not really too much you could potentially expect with this, but then again, I probably won't have to expect many others along the way. And even though there are a bunch of games out there that happen to represent the kind of history that we are taught in school, this one right here really does tell us the big story of Tsushima Island, 13th century Japan, and the War of the Mongols in a whole new way. I really feel like that this one right here just capitalizes on as many things as possible just to, well, get a pretty good, I guess, a pretty good standpoint on what video games could possibly be in the next 15 years or so. There's definitely a lot of new titles out there that are pretty much on their way, and unfortunately, it does seem like that some titles out there just are not going to be as good as we probably would have wanted them to be. And there are a couple things about this, because the year 2021 itself is partly to blame for most of this. I mean, this year's already been as catastrophic and cataclysmic that it's getting ridiculous. Having to delay various movies and video game titles and many other things around here just because of all this, I mean, what was the problem with just having them released the first time around rather than have them delayed by several months or even years ahead? What was the problem with releasing it? I mean, when it comes to something like, let's say, Avatar 2, which is already all finished, I mean, I'd rather just have that delayed until 2022 rather than have it released right now, because this is such a terrible year. Nobody's going to want to go back to the movie theater because of all this crap that we have to endure. And man, so, okay, I guess the big thing here.
He and his people are more than hunters, aren't they?
Depends on how you look at it.
What do we got?
They can stay and hold the pass for us. But I don't want bandits making trouble for innocent people.
Frustrating.
He knows what I'd do to him if they tried.
I think he's been looking forward to seeing you.
He's seen me. We can go now.
Let's get everyone to Jokaku. We'll plan our final attack from there.
Now I kind of see where this is going.
Come to die.
Well, what do we got here? Well, okay. I don't really know how, but somehow I keep getting text on my work. Oh, man. That's probably not going to be very good. So, okay, let's see what we got to do next. We're going to start doing some little customization here. Move this up a bit. There you go. Well, what do we got here? We got a lot of this to work with. We have these progression tier lists here. Looks like I got a bunch of points that I can use. And it also seems like I'm able to learn some new skills. Okay. Yeah, many of them are locked right now. So, I guess I just have to keep playing forward until I find a good, well, a good area to get into, pretty much. I guess we'll see what happens then, and also I guess we'll see what also takes place from this point going on, because I'm going to have more of the Enlightening venture pretty soon, but I'm also going to continue some of my work on some of the other series that I've talked about, especially ones like, well, let's just say that we're also going to expect some other new content. Like, again, GWK Leftovers is going to be coming pretty soon. And then we're also going to, well, probably expect some others, like films I should have talked about years ago, or any of the other newer Hot Wheels Hilarity series. But until then, I'm Jay Nowak, and this has been, well,